Montana.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Senator Konowski said that he quoted another person saying hazard mitigation is the center of the universe now. We just thought it was Cleveland, but maybe not. Enough of that. So look, we're on our 28th straight short-term extension of the National Flood Insurance. Beyond ridiculous, quite honestly. My question is for all three of you. But I only want you to use it for 30 seconds because you could all talk on it for 10 minutes. And that is, from this committee's standpoint, what would you prioritize, besides the extension baloney, what would you prioritize in an NFIP bill as the most important qualities? Go ahead. We'll start with you, Mr. Heck.
Thank you, Senator. First would be affordability, because we want to make sure that people stay in the program and it doesn't go into a death spiral. The second would be comprehensibility, so people understand what they can do to make improvements and what they're paying for. And the third, most fundamentally, would be money for mitigation, because hazard avoidance, reducing exposure, is the center of the universe, and it's how we're going to improve this for our nation over time. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Konowski.
My answer is going to be hazard mitigation.
Okay.
Hazard mitigation, because not only does it protect existing homeowners against their existing risk, it helps protect homeowners in the future and anyone else who purchases that home in the future against future risk.
Okay.
It also gets at the affordability issue, because if you've reduced your risk, you should also be able to reduce your rates.
Okay. Mayor Patterson.
I would have to echo the affordability. I would also recommend looking hard at the CDBG DR to streamline that. I come from one of the 3 chronically distressed counties in the state of Ohio, and when I look at affordability and look at my residents and my constituents, it's a big challenge when you live in the chronically distressed part of the state. And that's not just in our state. I look at all of Appalachia and see the exact same thing. It's the affordability and streamlining access to CDBG DR to where it's getting out more quickly and more effectively.
Thank you for that. I'm going to go back to you, Mr. Heck, because you talked about sustainability. All three of you talked about affordability with the last answer, and I agree. It doesn't do any good to have insurance if it's not attainable. But you also talked about sustainability, which is pretty damn important. We're $30 billion in the hole on the National Flood Insurance Program right now. I've worked with Senator Vitter, Senator Kennedy's predecessor, and Senator Heller from a different angle on flood insurance. Affordability is always the issue, and sustainability means it's paid for, right? At least that's my definition of it. So how do we do this? Because when you're comparing the premium to risk, it is, well, you correct me if I'm wrong, the risk is pretty significant.
Yes, thank you. So I think that there's 2 ways of looking at this. One is on the cost and efficiency side, and I think that Senator Scott spoke to this, the fact that 1% of claims are accounting for 30% of the payouts is something that clearly needs to be addressed.
And how would you address that?
Well, I think that you're going to have programs that basically say that if you are a repetitive loss building, that at some point you don't qualify for new payouts. You basically need to be remediated, and you can't build there any longer. There has to be a recognition of being smart about this program going forward.
So let's put this in plain talk. In other words, what you're saying is if you have an event that is expensive, unless you do some pretty significant mitigation, you're not going to be eligible for the policy anymore.
I would say there's a little bit of a subtlety to that, because I think we have to define what is the appropriate definition of repetitive. If you have one event, then you shouldn't be taken out of the program. And I don't know, and I can't say today what the exact level should be, but there should be some point after 2 or 3 events that if you haven't mitigated and reduced exposure on your own or using public assistance, then you don't get to continue to be a bad penny.
So, and I hate to keep going down this round, but look, Senator Kennedy talked about being below sea level. Mm-hmm. That's a problem. Building in the floodplains of rivers is a problem. We see the same thing, by the way, with fires. You build in the middle of the forest is going to burn, I mean. So the question is, and yet we have taxpayer subsidy of this program. We got taxpayer subsidy of a lot of programs, by the way. But we have taxpayer subsidy of this program. So how do we really get it to a point because I do think sustainability is important. How do we get it to a point where it's a sustainable program so that we're not dependent upon the U.S. taxpayer for people who make bad decisions?
Right. So-
Because, yeah, go ahead.
No, it's a very complicated issue. So one is efficiency. I think the other question we have to look at is the way the write your own programs are critical to us. They work for us, but should you get 30% continually as the rates continue to go up? That's a question. On the other side of it, I think that we were able to be in Amsterdam over the holidays. When you arrive in Amsterdam Airport Schiphol, there is a sign there that says "Welcome to below sea level." They have mitigated so well that it's actually a positive for them. So we do have the ability to design structures that protect communities and homes in a way that ultimately will reduce the exposure to the taxpayer. And finally, flood insurance, I would argue, is really a social good. We need to live and work near water as a nation, so we have to have programs that maybe provide some level of as you said, cross-subsidization.
Thank you all three for your testimony. I appreciate it.
Thank you.